Okay, so you're a sick producer, right? Kudos to you. You put in so much work to get great at production, and the arrangement and the sounds you choose are all fantastic. But for some reason, your mixes always fall flat. They don't have the energy, the waveform looks like a sausage, everything's squashed together, and there's no dynamics. So, in this video, we're gonna change all of that. I'm gonna give you my best mixing tips as a professional engineer that is gonna help you take your fantastic productions and your fantastic music and turn it into something that the record label wants and that the fans want. Let's get into it. Welcome back to week number 12. I'm Worf, the artist and creative director behind brands like Worf and Arcee, Crossing Borders, Worfy's World, and the director behind the company Generation Media Group, where we are dedicated to creative media and helping people like you get better at it. So in this video today, we're going to go over mixing tips. Now, I've been a professional engineer in the city of Ottawa for a very long time. I've worked with over thousands of artists across EDM, hip-hop, rap, pop, all the different industries. And something that I notice a lot is that the threshold to become a really good producer it isn't too high these days. In fact, with all the tutorials and things that you can find on the internet, it's actually, you'll get there a lot quicker than before all of this happened. So what I want to do is, from a experienced engineering side, help you navigate your production as you're making your next record and give you some helpful tips and tools that you can use while you're producing so that your finished product, your master, is going to come out so much better. Today we're going to go over some of my best mixing tips, things that I've used over the years and things I've learned over the years and things that I can tangibly see myself get better as the engineer and as the producer. So I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm going to try to get through these as quick as possible while explaining why I've come to use them so much and how much I really benefit from using plugins like these. So in order to do this, I'm going to show you a record that I have been making this last week. It's called Follow You for the Worf and Arcee project. It's a unique record because I'm not typically a singer, though I've been a recording engineer for a long time and I made a living out of making people sound great. We are going to use this project as an example. It's also unique because usually Arcee is the singer as the classically trained high soprano in the Worf and Arcee project, but this was a late night project that I kind of had to get out and was inspired by. So this is what it sounds like. Fantastic. You get the idea. So the first thing that I want to point out, and my first tip, is mix at a moderate level. If you are blasting your speakers during your production, you're probably only going to have one good hour before your ears get fatigued. Yeah, sure, it's a little enjoyable to mix your records loud and produce your records loud, but you're going to start making mixing and production mistakes after the first hour. So as you're producing, mix at a moderate level so you're not harming your ears and you're not increasing the length of time or decreasing the length of time before your ears get fatigued. Now, something to add to that is when you're slotting in a new sound to your production, mix it in here at an almost inaudible level. What that's going to do is you're going to be able to put the sound in on top of everything else that's already there, and if you can hear all of the sounds at that level, then it's balanced correctly. And then all that you're going to do after that is you're going to make sure it's gain staged properly. So as you throw a saturator on that sound that you've already slotted in that sounds balanced, and you're adding a whole bunch of harmonics and distortion and flavor to it, you're just going to turn down the output gain of the plugin and continue to make sure that that is gain stage. It's matched to that volume. Now, to add one more thing to that tip, coming from the interface standpoint, is you want to be also toggling your mono on, mono off button as you're producing. Basically, if you are putting in a big pad section and it sounds fantastic coming out of your speakers, and then you hit mono and all the energy and all the weight to it has just completely died. It's too wide. So you need to be able to pull that back in to a more central area so that when your song is played through a system like this, or played through a massive festival stage, or played through a crappy Logitech speaker, basically anywhere your end listener is going to be listening to this record, it needs to sound great. So that means it has to sound great in stereo here at your desk and in mono. So as you progress through your production, everything should be balanced, as we talked about before, and sound great here in mono. So as I produce, I'm constantly sitting here, sound quiet, can I hear all the elements, is one too loud, is one balanced, does it sound great in mono? If I'm doing all of these things, then while you get to the end of your production, you've done so much of the mixing and the balancing, and it's just going to sound fantastic. Moving on from interface tips. Having a visual cue was so important and such a big leg up for myself. As somebody that had done 10 years of just trusting my ears and then going to the visual side of things, it helped tremendously. If you're like me and you're also a DJ and you want to do this electronic dance music, DJ production thing, and in the other genres as well, you're used to seeing that record on a DJ software like Serato, Tractor, Record Box, all of these things. And being able to see your record right here, having all your scopes, seeing where seeing all the scopes up here, being able to see where your tracks lies, and this one in particular, you're looking at it going, okay, now this looks, sounds, and feels like all the records that I play in, again, Serato, Record Box, and Tractor. So Minimeters is like $10. I can't remember off the top of my head who made it, but you're the GOAT that you did. I'll leave a link in the description to get this. Highly, highly recommend. It'll help your game out so much. Moving on, let's talk about mono. Mono under 150. So that's a rule of thumb. As you progress and progress and progress, you'll get better at breaking those rules if you need to, or if it sounds right. The general rule of thumb, everything under 150 hertz, so this is your kick and your bass, should be right down the middle. Should be mono. That's your weight. It's the whole floor of your record, and it should be, in my opinion, and the opinion of probably everybody, the most stable thing in your record. So what I will do on all my layers of bass is I will go in with my EQ and make sure that it's rolled off at 150, all the side information. Done, cut. So you're going to see this on all of my bass EQs, including my kick. And for redundancy, it's going to go probably also on my kick and my bass group. Even more so when you get down to a master, I'm probably also going to have one down there. Sometimes I do it with the Blackmagic saturator, but the whole idea is under 150 hertz, it should be in mono. Now, there's producers, world famous like David Guetta, who stands by mono under 200, but that really all depends on your ears and what you're liking. So I've heard of people even going lower, 130, but the more you produce, the more you'll be able to trust that ultimate decision. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Mixroom and Bassroom. These are two plugins that are great for you to reference your mix that's coming out and see if it's matching your reference track that you have in your record. So, two plugins here. One's Bassroom, one's Mixroom. I'm going to throw them currently on my Submaster bus. It looks like this. Basically what you could do, it's a really neat plugin. You can go to this button here and drop a file. Do yourself a favor and drop a high quality wave, something purchased off Beatport. If you use a YouTube to MP3, it won't be as accurate. It's still going to work and function the same way, but it's not going to be as accurate. So we're going to look at the bass frequencies, Basically what it's going to do is take the bass frequency range from this reference track. You're going to create the targets. And what it's going to do is show me where the reference track is versus where my track is. So if I go and try to match these lines up here, I'll just do it loosely. I can go so here's with it on, here's with it off. You'll notice it boosted some of that low range and took down some of that top range, and that's based on the reference track that it was provided. Now I don't use this, slap it on and call it a day. I use it as a reference to go back into my mix and go, okay, my kick and sub group right here can probably use a little bit more oomph in the 30 hertz range. Now, Mixroom works in exactly the same way. Bassroom is for the bass, naturally. Mixroom is for everything above the bass. So mid-range, upper mids, highs, everything. So same thing, you can hit a preset, grab your reference track, drop it in, create your targets. It does the exact same thing that Bassroom does, and it creates specific bands for you. Or you can just click them in yourself, and you're just trying to match the curve of your reference track. I'm just doing this nice and sloppy, just as a demonstration, so we could go off and on. Let's do that again, just a little bit longer. On. It's giving me so much more brightness and color to that sound, and something that you can sit there and now go and analyze your record and go, okay, do I need this? Use them as a reference, use them as the way they were intended. Either way, it's giving you a fantastic idea of how your record sounds in comparison to your reference track. Now, it's important because the reference track is how, like if you're producing music and you want to sound like a certain person and you want a label to pick you up because you sound like the artist on their label, beyond like your production that has to sound that way, the tonal quality of the tracks also have to be very close. If you can hit those marks, then likely the A&R that's listening to this particular record is going to go, wow, like this guy can fit in with us. Beyond that, maybe your brand has to be the same way as them, but constantly be paying attention to these things. One more tip that I want to talk about, and that is Soothe. We had an ongoing joke at the recording studio that we would choose Soothe over a DAW. Now, I know that's silly to say, and it's not exactly accurate, but Soothe is that good. Now, it is expensive, but in my opinion, worth every penny. It's been remade by other third-party companies, and nobody's ever quite done it as good as Soothe. So, Soothe is a subtractive resonant suppressor, and when used in the sidechain, it works extremely, extremely well, and just standalone by getting rid of the harshest, tinny upper frequencies, de-essing. It can basically do everything. Get rid of mud. When I say everything, I really mean everything. I use it specifically on vocals when I want to make sure that the vocal sits inside the reverb. I sidechain it to my reverb so that the reverb surrounds it, but you still have the clarity of the vocal on top. The other place that I'll use it almost always is on the master, just to give it that soothing touch right at the very end of the master chain, like down here. Typically, I'll use it in manual, but there is one that I use on my master chain. If you want it in Soothe, Balance for the Grammy Awards, and it's really, really subtle, especially because it's on the master, but it just kind of tidies everything up just like ever so slightly, and it's fantastic. that's it for my mixing tips. If you want to see more of these, I got a lot more that I've developed over the years and that I've learned over the years. So if you want to see more, leave a comment, and we'll get at them. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something from this video. If you need help with your engineering, if you need help with your brand, we do so much of that work here at Generation Media Group. Just give us a call, send us a message, or a link through our Calendly link. So that's it for week 12. We'll see you next week on week 13. Peace.